Hey folks, welcome to my channel, Latter Day Prophecy, where I like to do presentations explaining the amazing events of the latter days. With that, I wanted to speak about Isaiah 5, which is an awesome chapter if you understand the events that Isaiah is speaking to. With it, he talks about the Lord's relationship with the house of Israel, what causes their rejection, and what will bring about their redemption. It speaks of Zion in the near future, and so with that, I'll get started reading. I will sing a song to my well-beloved, a song of my beloved touching his vineyard. My well-beloved hath a vineyard in a very fruitful hill, and he fenced it, and gathered out the stones thereof, and planted it with the choice vine, and built a tower in the midst of it, and also made a winepress therein. And he looked that it should bring forth grapes, and it brought forth wild grapes. And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah, judge, I pray you, betwixt me and my vineyard. What could have been done more to my vineyard, that I have not done in it? Wherefore, when I looked that it should bring forth grapes, brought it forth wild grapes. The vineyard is the house of Israel. The actions of the well-beloved fencing the vineyard, gathering out the stones, planting it in a choice land on a fruitful hill, making a hedge, building a tower, shows the love and attention the Lord is giving to this vineyard. He is trying to cultivate a relationship with the vineyard or house of Israel, but what ends up happening is it brings forth wild grapes, fruit that doesn't taste good. So what does the Lord do about this? It says, and now go to, I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard. I will take away the hedge thereof, and it shall be eaten up. Break down the wall thereof, and it shall be trodden down. And I will lay it waste. It shall not be pruned nor digged, but there shall come up briars and thorns. I will also command the clouds that they rain no rain upon it. For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah his pleasant plant. And he looked for judgment, but behold oppression, for righteousness, but behold a cry. The Lord stops blessing the vineyard with his efforts. It is not bringing forth good fruit. In consequence of this action of no longer blessing Israel, the vineyard or house of Israel is going to be overcome with all the forces of their surrounding environment. The nearby nations are going to conquer her, scatter her, enslave her, etc. Isaiah continues, woe unto them that join house to house, that lay field to field, till there be no place, that they may be placed alone in the midst of the earth. It appears Isaiah gives a warning to those in heavily populated areas. In mine ears said the Lord of hosts, of a truth many houses shall be desolate, even great and fair without inhabitant. Yea, 10 acres of vineyard shall yield 1 bath, and the seed of an homer shall yield 1 ephah. So according to Wikipedia, a bath is 22 liters. They reference this being archaeologically determined to have been about 22 liters from studying a jar that was marked bath. A bath is 1/10 of a homer, yet it is saying a homer shall yield only 1 ephah. The point is 10 acres of vineyard should yield a lot more than 22 liters of wine, and a homer should yield a lot more than an ephah. In other words, these fields are not producing much due to the desolation. Woe unto them that rise up early in the morning, that they may follow strong drink, that continue until night, till wine inflame them. And the harp, and the viol, and the tabret, and pipe, and wine are in their feast. But they regard not the work of the Lord, neither consider the operation of his hands. Isaiah is warning those who are preoccupied with a number of distractions. Wine, harps, viol, tabret, pipe, feast, etc. There is nothing wrong with these things. But when they are distracting to the point where we don't focus on the things of eternal value, such as God's workings towards mankind, then it becomes a problem. How often do we see people in this country focus on sports, social media, drinking, vanity, and the finer comforts of life, but they dedicate little to no time understanding God, his commandments, or even in addressing the problems of our nation, ridding ourselves of the corruption within our society? What is the end result of this kind of mentality? The next verses tell us this. Therefore my people are gone into captivity, because they have no knowledge, And their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. Therefore hell hath enlarged herself, and opened her mouth without measure, and their glory and their multitude and their pomp, and he that rejoiceth shall descend into it. And the mean man shall be brought down, and the mighty man shall be humbled, and the eyes of the lofty shall be humbled. In other words, because of this overall mentality, everyone is going to suffer. The ordinary, the mighty, the privileged, we're all going to be humbled because of it. But the Lord of hosts shall be exalted in judgment, and God that is holy shall be sanctified in righteousness. Then shall the lambs feed after their manner, and the waste places of the fat ones shall strangers eat. After the Lord pours out his judgment, his lambs or disciples shall feed in their manner, but the wasted places of the wealthy wicked, or fat ones, shall those who are without the Lord, the strangers, feed off of. Woe unto them that draw iniquity with cords of vanity, and sin as it were with a cart rope, that say, Let him make speed, and hasten his work, that we may see it. And let the counsel of the Holy One of Israel draw nigh and come, that we may know it. Verses 18 and 19 is a mock from the wicked to the Lord. The hymn in this verse is referring to God. They say, Let him make speed, let's see his work so that we may know it. A mocking invitation saying, Go ahead. Woe unto them that call evil good, and good evil, that put darkness for light, and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet, and sweet for bitter. Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes, and prudent in their own sight. Woe unto them that are mighty to drink wine, and men of strength to mingle strong drink, which justify the wicked for reward, and take away the righteousness of the righteous from him. To justify the wicked for reward means to accept bribery. Taking away righteousness from the righteous, calling good evil and evil good, describes the moral decay of society perfectly. Therefore, as the fire devoureth the stubble, and the flame consumeth the chaff, so their root shall be as rottenness, and their blossom shall go up as dust, because they have cast away the law of the Lord of hosts, and despised the word of the Holy One of Israel. Therefore is the anger of the Lord kindled against his people, and he hath stretched forth his hand against them, and hath smitten them, and the hills did tremble, and their carcasses were torn in the midst of the streets. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. Those severe judgments are going to come upon those who were once a Christian covenant-keeping people, but have since forgotten the Lord, because they have cast away his laws, and even worse, have come to despise him and his commandments. Their carcasses are being torn in the streets. The Lord in his anger is pouring out a just needed judgment. His anger is not turned away. However, his hand is still stretched out, offering us his power and strength if we will return to the promises and covenants that provide that power. And he will lift up an ensign to the nations from far, and will hiss unto them from the end of the earth. And behold, they shall come with speed swiftly. This verse talks about the Lord establishing Zion. If you don't understand what is meant by establishing Zion, then I encourage you to watch my video, Zion, as it'll explain this further. An ensign is a flag or standard. This means God is forming a nation or government, his government, Zion. Then it says, He will hiss unto them from the end of the earth, and they shall come. Who is the they referred to here coming from the end of the earth? The next verses describe them. None shall be weary nor stumble among them. None shall slumber nor sleep. Neither shall the girdle of their loins be loosed, nor the latchet of their shoes be broken. Whose arrows are sharp, and all their bows bent. Their horses' hoofs shall be counted like flint, and their wheels like a whirlwind. The roaring shall be like a lion, they shall roar like young lions. Yea, they shall roar and lay hold of the prey, and shall carry it away safe, and none shall deliver it. And in that day they shall roar against them like the roaring of the sea. And if one look unto the land, behold darkness and sorrow, and the light is darkened in the heavens thereof. So who is this people coming from the end of the earth? Well, I see two ways you could look at this interpretation. One, you may see them from the end of the earth, being people all over the earth returning to establish Zion. However, I disagree with this interpretation, although yes, I believe refugees from all over the earth will come to Zion. I just don't think that is what Isaiah is referring to here. Notice it states them from the end of the earth. It does not pluralize the word end to say ends. In other words, these people are one distinct people coming from a specific location. It describes them as an extremely capable military with words like arrows are sharp, all their bows bent, their horses' hooves shall be counted like flint, their wheels like a whirlwind, girdle of their loins not loosed, nor a latchet of their shoes broken, roaring like young lions. It says they shall lay hold of the prey and carry it away, and none shall deliver it. Just as a lion will lay hold of his prey and may carry it away to be eaten. The people being spoken of by Isaiah, I believe, are the lost 10 tribes of Israel, who are prophesied to return in the latter days. As the righteous in America plead with God and are seeking to establish freedom and relief from totalitarian government as they seek to establish Zion, the Lord is going to send this mighty army to save them and ensure that Zion is established. So when things get dark and bleak in the future, have faith in God. Make and keep sacred covenants with Him. His holy army, the lost tribes of Israel, will return to ensure that Zion is established. Read this chapter over, pray about it, seek understanding the prophecies of Isaiah. They are not easily understood at first, but when we give them time and attention, it becomes clearer. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Feel free to subscribe if you like. It helps messages like these get out there. Feel free to join my email list on my website if you like for other information. Thank you, brothers and sisters. God bless.